Okay, then. Episode 7. Closing in on the end, and yet this episode is called Hello, Rosie. Now, my memory for names is trash garbage, but I don't remember a Rosie. Are we going to be introducing, like at this point in the season, are we going to be introducing a new character? Because maybe this wouldn't be, oh boy, this wouldn't really be the time for that. This would be the time for like ramping up to the denouement and the all is lost moment right before the cathartic triumph at the end of the. Okay, well, I mean, okay, I guess we'll see. So Rosie, huh? Throws a little bit of a wrench into a theory I've been sort of mulling over. See, because I've been thinking about, like, okay, who the hell is we're getting to the end of the season. I don't know if it's gonna be revealed, but like, who the hell is holding Alastor's leash, right? Like, we know that Alastor is in service to someone else for some kind of a purpose. At least according to Husk, and certainly Alastor's behavior did not discourage the idea. So I've been wondering, like, who the hell has the power level, right, to subjugate someone like Alastor, or to hold him accountable to or for anything. And it's probably not any of the other overlords, because they don't seem remotely, like, they seem entirely unaware of whatever Alastor has been up to. So ruling them out. It's not going to be Lucifer, because Alastor and Lucifer clearly are not in cahoots with one another, not going by their behavior anyway. So who else has the power level? Well, Seraph does, I guess, but her whole thing is that she doesn't want any contact with hell whatsoever. She wants to wash her hands of the whole thing. She might use a demon like Alastor as an agent if she feels like she needs some extra control. But again, she has Adam, like, to do all of that stuff. She sort of just assumed that he would take care of it. And she didn't seem to be overly, like, to be super conscious of Charlie as like a threat to heaven either, so why would you have Alastor running the Hazbin Hotel? Which sort of left me with, okay, of the named characters, of the characters like I know exist in the show so far, who would have a good reason to plant Alastor in the Hazbin Hotel to keep an eye on Charlie? And the only character I could come up with was Lilith, right? Because she's been absent the whole season. She was presented in the flashback with Lucifer as this kind of shadowy figure whose motivations were like, oh, unclear, like why should she think she would have incentive to try and protect Charlie, and she might use have told Alastor, like, go help my daughter, like, protect her, keep her safe from whatever, and keep her dad away from her as well, because her dad is going to enable her silly ideas about going to heaven and changing things. That's too dangerous, and I don't want her to do that, so keep her dad away from her. Kind of like, that feels like a thing, depending on how Lilith exactly is characterized, that felt like maybe that's plausible. But now we're getting high Rosie. And is it going to be Rosie who's the one who's holding Alastor's? Is it, in which case, what the fuck kind of power does she have? Like, where the hell did she come from? What is she then? Or am I just like, has Rosie actually been named already? And I just don't remember. I don't know. But okay. That's sort of the theory I've been working on, is that if anyone is holding Alastor's leash, they would have to be on the power level, surely, of a Lucifer. And the only other character that we know that is there would be Lilith, who would also have a motivation for putting him in the Hazbin Hotel, and, you know, so on and so forth. But, you know, I mean, I don't even know if there's time to reveal that by the end of the 8th episode, because we have to resolve the whole thing of, like, no one knows how to get into heaven, which is a pretty big blow to the whole purpose of the Hazbin Hotel. We have to resolve that Adam is going to come down and genocide everybody. We have to resolve Charlie and Vaggie having a falling out over the revelation that Charlie is, in fact, not a demon, but one of the exterminators. And God knows, like, I guess we sort of kind of resolved Angel Dust's arc, at least for this season. But, you know, don't feel like Pensia's had that much to do. So, I don't know. There's a lot of things, again, we discussed it extensively in the last episode. It is that thing of, like, boy, like a few more episodes, like a half dozen more episodes, maybe a whole dozen, maybe like at least 4 or 5 more episodes. Is like, would really have done this show some goddamn good, but, well, that's not the world we live in. Anyway, welcome along to a Hazbin Hotel, or anime, cartoon, whatever. Welcome along to a watch-along, is what I'm trying to get at here. And the way that these work is that you can see here on screen that there's a screenshot of what I happen to be looking at right now. What I'm looking at right now is 26 seconds exactly into the episode, unless they have content warnings at the front, because I don't get those where I am, which will throw the synchronization off, but whatever. There's a timer. You use the timer to stay in time with me as I am watching through this episode, because I can't show you the episode for fear of, copyright lawyers and thus, descending upon my channel like the wrath of an uncaring god. So we have the timer. I'll set the timer all the way back to 0000. I'll say 3, 2, 1, go. And then when I say go, you will get this little bit of the concept art or official promotional art instead of the thing. And then occasionally I'll have something more to say, and I'll say 3, 2, 1, pause. And then right now you're not really seeing much, but you'll get a screenshot of whatever I happen to be looking at. I'll do my talking about whatever the thing is that I'm looking at. You'll use the timer to stay in tune with more or less where I am. I'll say 3, 2, 1, unpause, and then we keep watching this thing together, right? Is that... I need to work on a script for explaining how this works to people so I'm not making it up off the top of my head every time I do this. But anyway, that's how it works. It is inconvenient, but it's easier for me to do it this way because that way I don't need to edit these videos at all, and I can just, I can use this relaxation channel for my relaxing, which is the purpose of it. So yeah. Let's watch the penultimate episode of the first season, shall we? See how many of these things the show actually manages to resolve. I imagine not as many as I would like. 3, 2, 1, go. Amazon Prime, an Amazon series. Little redundant. It's like Marc Jacobs. I don't know if you've ever seen, the tags on clothing by Marc Jacobs, but it's like Marc Jacobs by Marc Jacobs for Marc Jacobs in collaboration with Marc Jacobs for Marc Jacobs. I think it's some kind of joke. Anyway, Rosie. Who the fuck is Rosie? Oh, pinches. Alastor seems to sense an opportunity. Yeah. Oh, he senses such an opportunity. Yeah, that makes sense for him. The deal? Oh, he knows how to kill an angel. There it is. There it is. I knew he was going for that. Ooh, Charlie showing a little bit of the demon. And Alastor seems to be... Oof. Ooh, that's an expression. Okay, 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay. So this is fun. This is fun. We're getting to see another side of Dear Charlie Girl. I especially note the demonic thing that comes out. Like when she's making the deal with Alastor, that she shifts more into like that demonic form we saw like a glimpse of. With the Valentino. Because this is curious to me. So I guess I was right that Alastor has, like, that's why, from his perspective, he was there. He was angling for a deal the whole time. But he doesn't want her soul. He wants a favor where she harms no one. And Charlie, oh my god, girl, you need a lawyer for this. You need a contract with stipulations. Because that is a lot to sign over to Captain Smiley Pants here. But he was after a deal with her, a favor. Which again, if Alastor is looking for a way out from under the boot heels of someone like Lilith, like, she doesn't have to harm anyone, but convince your mother to let me go, that's a small favor where she doesn't harm anyone. For example, so that would square, more or less. I do want to go back and have a little look at... Because Alastor's convincing is interesting, like, because he starts with... Like, he starts by negging her, right? Like, he starts by sort of tearing her down, reminding her how miserably everything she has done has failed. Like, yeah, you fucked absolutely everything up. All of the things just completely screwed up because of you. Isn't that funny? Ha 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 ha. And then he turns on the, well, we are not so different, you and I thing, right? Where she's like, you just stand there smiling all the time. What the fuck do you know? And that's when he sort of starts giving her fatherly advice, as it were, right? Don't be so sure, my dear. A smile can hide, and like he gives her advice on how to stay in control, how to be a good overlord. Essentially, is the advice that he's giving her. So that's like creating a rapport, right? Like establishing, like maybe I know a little bit more than, like maybe you can, not in the sense of maybe I'm benevolent, but maybe you could learn something from me. Like maybe I have some tools available to me that you could use to help yourself. Wouldn't that be convenient? And then, right, he establishes this thing about like you have to know more than your enemy, and I know something you don't know. That's when he tempts her with the information, right? And it's a brilliant gambit from Alastor because he doesn't know how to kill them either. He has no idea. All he knows is that Carmilla Carmine managed one. He doesn't know how. He doesn't know, like, the circumstances under which it happened or anything. But that little tidbit of information, that little scrap, he parlays that into getting a deal with Charlie in return for information, right? Even though he's really not giving her much of anything. And certainly not anything that she couldn't have found out from Pensius's little egg guy. Which, is there going to be a joke about that? Is there going to be a thing of she says, oh, like, she'll, like, we have to find out how to kill an angel. Oh, like Camilla Carmine knows? And she'll look at that one as like, what the fuck? How did he know? Is that why they fucking did that with that? Like, oh my God. Jesus Christ. Okay. But I like this scene as a scene of like devilish seduction. Like not in an erotic or romantic sense, but in the sense of like, you can see the shape of the manipulation that he's doing, right? Like how he begins by first making her feel worse. Then he sort of offers the idea that even when you're completely out of control and things are falling apart, maybe there's something you could do. And I know something you don't know. Like that. That's very well written as like as how you would tempt someone so innocent as Charlie into making this kind of a deal. Wait until she's at her absolute lowest, when she's most willing to take extreme measures, and then, right? And like this is the long game, right? He's been there the whole time. He's been helping. He hasn't been doing anything out of line. He hasn't been like conducting any kind of especial evil. He's been defending the hotel. He hasn't given her any reason to distrust her, and he's cashing it in now, which I like. And then also, let's have a little closer look at so Charlie's devil design. I mean, presumably she sort of can go more monstrous than this, but very sort of like this is very classic devil, like with the two red horns and like the glowing red eyes. I don't know that there's a tail there because we don't get a zoomed out shot until. Oh, hello. Oh, interesting, because like Alastor's smile usually is like I always took that as like a waveform, right? Like it was like a waveform of well, no, kind of sort of like it could be that anyway. Like it, like insofar as there was any. This is the thing about like how much of a, like, because every single character has that giant toothy grin, right? Like that's sort of just par for the course. But like insofar as it had a meaning, I thought it was like that. But here he's turning into a doll essentially. Like with a sewn together mouth, this is something I think people mentioned in the comments at one point, that Alastor's magic has a tendency to be based around like voodoo imagery, which I don't know enough about that to really comment to the extent of that. But that's certainly a thing of like, what I know about voodoo is that the idea of voodoo as like this evil spirit magic full of curses and demons and dark magic and like spreading diseases and like stealing souls and all that shit, that's not really what it is. Like there is definitely in the folklore a component of voodoo magic that can be used to do harm, that can be used to like to do scary things, but that's really not what it is as a spiritual practice. Is, and again, I don't know enough to speak authoritatively on it, but as I understand it, it's a mixing of many different spiritual practices brought to the Americas, especially to, I believe, to the Caribbean and like the American South by various like African cultures, sort of all intermingling, intermixing with like pieces of Catholicism and like all kinds of things that merge together into this very specific spiritual practice, whose function, like most spiritual practices, is benign, right? Like is benevolent. Is like, this is a means to cure people of diseases. This is a means to obtain spiritual protection for the dead, or lay their souls to rest, and negotiate with the afterlife, and like sort of like try and gain some kind of supernatural protection from the predations and the miseries, like all the same shit that Christianity does, right? Like that's more or less what it is. Voodoo has nothing inherently to do with evil or dark magic or anything scary in particular. That is entirely a pop cultural invention of like sort of white colonizing cultural interests as they interact with voodoo as a practice, right? Like that there was a very specific purpose to white people demonizing voodoo as like an unchristian, as a demonic, as like a hell, as a spiritual practice connected with hell. And so again, I don't know enough about voodoo to identify any of this as connected to that spiritual practice, but it's like, I maybe wouldn't have used that for my evil demon guy quite so casually. As you know, as a white person, I don't feel like that I would be in a position to do that. Like, again, I don't know who was on the writers team for Hazbin Hotel, or what kinds of influences or sensitivity consultants that they had, but yeah, no, I can definitely see why that's problematic. But then also, he has the stag thing going on, which, again, I don't know enough about voodoo to know if it has any, like, if there's any sort of stag-headed, antlered demon associated with that, or whatever the hell is going on with that. Because that, to me, my worry with Alastor was that he was going to be drawing from, like, North American indigenous culture, folklore, like stuff like the Wendigo, for example, which is another thing of like, maybe that, like, those cultural practices really are something that if you're not indigenous yourself, you should be very careful about appropriating from or using, especially if you're using them to represent evil, because of, you know, there's a historical context to that, and you don't want to be a part of that if you can avoid it. So I don't know, like, I don't know enough to comment on it very strongly. Oh, right, there was another thing. I was looking at the canopy there. The other thing I noticed after the Lucifer episode, like after the Deadbeat Dad episode, or Dad Beat Dad, whatever, the iconography of the entire Hazbin Hotel has a circus theming to it. I didn't even realize that, but the entire Hazbin Hotel has a circus theming to it. We have that there, looks a lot like it's themed after Lucifer's hat specifically, which sort of implies that the Hazbin Hotel is his old hotel, and that he used to run it, perhaps. Which is like, okay, interesting. Like, so which would be very specifically that Charlie is taking up her father's mantle, right? And taking up his, like, the dream that he once had. Like, I wonder if he was trying to rehabilitate souls at the Hazbin Hotel necessarily, but, you know, who knows? But okay, I think that's about all I had here initially. Okay, I think we were at around around 5 minutes exactly. Let's go 5 minutes exactly. What a nice round number. I've been talking. Oh God, it's 23 minutes already. Let's watch the cartoon, shall we? 3, 2, 1, unpause. Shit, no, fuck. 3, 2, 1, pause. Fuck me. Do you know why I paused in the first place? You know why I even went on this tangent in the first place at all? Do you know what I actually wanted to talk about? I wanted to talk about this. That. I just wanted to talk about that expression. That was the thing that sort of induced me to pause, is I wanted to talk about, that's the expression that Charlie gives to Vaggie with this thing, are you with us or not, after she's like sort of delivered some fairly poignant, like, hey, you've been lying to me for all of our relationship. I'm a little bit pissed about that. And now we get this thing where, like, very specifically what she does is that she rears back, she tilts her head back, and she looks down on Vaggie. right? Like it's this distancing, right? Like the raised chin looking down. It's imperious. It's commanding. Like this is the attitude of a king or an emperor, right? And it's also it's not affectionate, right? And it's not a please, I need you with me. It's an ultimatum. Are you with us or are you not? Which, yeah, no, like that, again, we're seeing a different side of Charlie, like a side of Charlie that has perhaps a little bit more of, I wouldn't say her father, because her father doesn't really seem the type, but maybe a little bit more of her mother in her. Sort of depending on whether my theories about Lilith and her nature are even within a ballpark of correct. And certainly a side of Charlie that's more influenced by Alastor's, like, well, you know, use whatever means you can to take what you want. Anyway, now back to the fucking cartoon. 3, 2, 1, on pause. Wait, is that where that's from? Three, 3, 2, 1, pause. First of all, okay, I called it, but also, that's where that's from? That's also been all over fucking TikTok. That's been all over fucking TikTok. That fucking sound, they say insane shit all the time. Is that where that's from? Oh, fuck me. I've been more on Hazbin TikTok than I knew, I guess. I thought for sure. I thought for sure that the fact that the little egg guy knew it was gonna be like that was gonna be the Deus Ex Machina that they planted like way the hell back in episode 3. I thought that was gonna be the thing of like the situation we saw, like Alastor's like, I know something you don't know. I know like that they can be killed and like how they might know, and that like the little demon egg, the little egg guy would be would be how how Charlie gets out of taking a deal with Alastor. It's because the little egg guy knew, and he'll sort of like he would walk in or he would spill that at like or Vaggie would hear it, and like that would be the way that Vaggie would sort of try and get back into Charlie's good graces or like whatever. But no, I guess we were planting that as a fucking brick joke. That's well played. That's a good fucking brick joke. That is a very good brick joke. Like, because like it wouldn't be half as funny if they had found out in the same episode, right? Like, if this episode, Alastor had been to the meeting and the little egg guy had found out about the dead exterminator and whatever, it wouldn't have been nearly as funny. But the fact that it happened like 4 episodes ago, and if the season had been longer, right? If the season had been 24 episodes or something, and it been like 15 episodes since they found that out, holy shit, that would have been funny. Okay, I'm gonna go back to 5 minutes. God, it's gonna take forever to get through this episode. 5 minutes 20 seconds. Let's go there, because I kind of didn't hear anything that happened. I kind of didn't hear anything that happened after that. 3, 2, 1, on pause. Hmm. Oh, poor Alastor. That would be Rosie. That yes, that would be Rosie. Oh, oh, okay, I see. So, okay, so three, two, one, pause. One thing about Cannibal Town that's interesting is the color scheme. Um, because all of the colors in Cannibal Town are noticeably desaturated and like much more sort of pastel and much more sort of gray and rather cold compared to the colors of pretty much anywhere else in hell, which is like I wonder if there's a point to that or if that's just to mark it out as a specific area all on its own. What it seems to me that it's doing is that it's mimicking the effect of like sepia, of like old timey sepia photographs where like all of the tones are like various shades of brown and yellow, except here it's all like reds and pinks and like with a little bit of brown in there. Um, that's what it seems to me aesthetically, that it's trying to sort of put a little bit of filter of old timiness over the whole thing. Because certainly this area seems to be designed after like sort of a Belle Epoque Americana sort of setting, 1890s, something along those lines, maybe the early 1910s. I confess I'm not like, it could be the 20s. I'm not 100% up on my fashion periods when it comes to, because like, I'm assuming American, because this does not immediately look European to me, and with the accent she was talking with, I mean, oh my god, like that sounds American to me. So, and I believe Alastor is American as well, right? Like that's certainly what the, if he was based on voodoo, you would imagine so. Anyway, three, two, one, on pause. Remember the smile, Charlie. Oh, I bet he has. Ooh, nice. She made a compelling argument, though. Sparkle! Rasmatas! Put on a show. Oh, Alastor, you piece of shit. What's he doing by doing that? Charlie, you need to smile. Oh, there she is. I like her. 2, 1. Yeah. Maybe just don't just run at her all the time. Ooh, the hair down. Well, I mean, I guess. Ooh, we're getting a song from her again. Hey, good point. Again, this would have... God... She would have been... This would have been such a better scene. Like, her letting her hair down. If there had been more build-up, more time for her. I like the idea of using the choreography of a dance as the means by which Carmilla is teaching Vaggie. Again, like using the format of musical to help. Eat them. Oh, there is a therapist in hell. Oh. Thank you. Yeah, like, for example, you eat them. Ah, we're getting another song. Come on. Oh, with the special mic. Oh, just spelling the theme out there. Thank you. Coming of age. And the marching drum, yes. I mean, that's the convincing argument for the cannibals, right? Ooh, lovely animation on Rosie, the little dance thing. Is that because she's a parade marshal and it's patterned after fucking... It's Disneyland. Is why. Ah, a little bit of insight into Alastor, huh? La da da da. Well, you're gonna have to be, girl. Cause, oh. 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 Again, angel and physical contact. Oh, yeah, the compressed timescale. The compressed timescale really still, like, it's so... And I'm not even mad at the show. Like, I genuinely do think the show is doing about the best that it can. Like, if I was editing this, if I was the guy who was like in charge of handling the editing of trying to get this fucking season to, maybe I would have cut Rosie. Like, maybe, like, but again, I don't know what she's going to be used for in the final episode. Like, maybe there's more to her, but I would have cut Rosie and then like spent the time, like have Charlie just sing a song to like the denizens of hell over Alastor's radio broadcast and then gather them up for a fight that way, I guess. Just to make a little bit more room for other things, because like it really is a thing of Charlie and Vaggy's relationship throughout the show. It didn't have enough time to breathe to really justify using the tension of like will they, won't they, or like the betrayal of Vaggy not having told her, like, as like a major plot point, because like then you should have set up like the closeness of their relationship ahead of time. Like you should have seen more of how much they depend on each other, and like the importance of honesty for Charlie in that relationship, right? Like the importance of sharing everything with one another. Dove into a little bit of why Vaggy, like, we know that Vaggy hates herself, right? But like a little bit more into like her inability to fully trust Charlie, right? Like to fully let go of her fear that she'll be rejected. Like, in order for it to be a major plot point here, right? Like, oh, and like again, like I'm saying, if I was the editor, I would have, like, it wouldn't have been that easy. There's no way in hell it would have been that easy. Like I'm not sitting here saying like, well, if I just been on the crew, I would have solved all the problems. Like none of that shit. Just in the sense that like Rosie as a new character being introduced at this point, she's charming, she's fun, I like her. She lacks a little bit of an edge, which I feel like I feel like the idea of Rosie is now we're introduced to her and she's like this seemingly very sort of sweet character, right? And then at some point you reveal that there's a much darker edge to her somewhere, or some kind of ulterior motive, like some kind of complicating factor with her that sort of puts in context why she's so sweet to Charlie, right? The only thing we get there is that little interlude with Alastor during the song, where you sort of get the sense that these two are conspiring together. like both of them working on the understanding that having Charlie owe you a favor, that'll probably be good for business in the future. Like, on the assumption we all survive this is like the meal ticket, right? That would be my assumption, is that Rosie, like, when Alastor brings someone to Rosie, she knows that means put on the charm, right? She knows that means, like, turn on the smile, be the nice auntie, win her trust, make her owe you a favor, right? Like, that would sort of be my assumption, is that they are in cahoots in that sense. And that's what they're talking about in this scene, like that they both sort of accurately perceive that if we are to have any fucking chance against, like, the Heavenly Extermination, probably gonna need the Princess of Hell on side, right? And, like, him talking about, like, she has potential that I could guide, like, that's, again, sort of indicates that what he sees in her is this, he doesn't necessarily want her soul, I guess, but he wants to be the one who molds her ethics, her ideas about how to use power, which is why, on a longer scale, I would imagine that that's why he's pushing her out in front to be the leader of the army, right? Is because he wants her to use her power. Like that's why she turns partly demon into a demon when she makes the deal with Alastor, is because he wants to nurture that side of her. He wants to make her, like, lean more into being demonic and, like, using power in the manner of an overlord, because that's useful to him. In my assumption, right? Also, it's fucking Disney. Like, that is that what it is? Like, are we specifically taking aim at the whatever it's called, the America Street or whatever? Like, that bit in Disneyland where they hold all the parades and it's, like, patterned after Walt Disney's childhood America, and it looks more or less like this, with gazebos and people with all the freaking 1920s hats and shit, barbershop quartets and all that. Is that why this is, like, is that why we have the martial parade thing going on? Specifically sort of taking the piss out of Disney? Because that's funny and interesting. Like, very World's Fair, all of this. Yeah, like, yeah, I mean, that's really my constant thought over and over and over again is, I wish it had more time. Like, I wish it had more time to build all of this. That, like, the confrontation with Carmilla here at the end, because the confrontation between Vaggie and Carmilla is, like, thematically speaking, right? Like narratively speaking, oh, it's angel weapons. That's the thing that can harm them. And because they think they're invulnerable, you can easily hurt them, right? Like, you're fighting as though you think you're invulnerable. That makes you an incredibly stupid combatant. This is the absolute truth. Right? But the other thing is, like, that's the point of the song, is you're not going to win this battle if you're just fighting to kill angels. Like, you need, like, in order, like, it's not just angel weapons, it's also that the reason why she was able to kill an angel is because she was fighting for someone she loves. Like, because she was protecting something that she cares about, rather than trying to destroy something that she hates, right? And that's what Heaven is doing when they're sending this little extermination brigade down to hell, is they want to wipe out the hated other, right? That's the thing, like, with Seraph, is like, sinners are other. They are strangers to heaven. They are this problem that exists outside of our borders. They are a threat to us. They are rising in opposition. We hate them. Like, she doesn't know them. She doesn't care to know them, but she hates that they exist as a threat to the thing that she thinks, to her conception of what heaven is and should be. And so, exterminate them. Wipe them out. Make sure that they can never, like, so that's a campaign of hatred, right? Like, we hate these filthy, disgusting sinners. We're just gonna kill them. We're just gonna get rid of them because, like, they don't need to exist in the world, and the fact that they exist is a problem for us. The antithesis to that is, like, fighting to protect something, fighting to defend things that you care about, which is like, and that's the thing, is the rhetoric that Seraph will use is, well, I'm only trying to protect heaven, right? Like, I'm only trying to protect the things I care about, but the way she's doing it is sending an army out to kill strangers who are, like, a million miles away, because of the mere idea that these people exist is a threat in her mind, right? Like, versus actually fighting in self-defense against an invading, conquering, genocidal army. There's a big difference between those two things. Like, those two things are simply not equivalent. And that's the distinction that the song is drawing, is that it's like, you can't just go out and kill because you feel uncomfortable. But, like, that kind of violence is not the same as fighting in defense for something you care about, right? And, like, Carmilla, I quite liked the choreography in this scene. And especially, like, it's especially funny that, like, by beating the shit out of my, not used to fighting with long hair. And then, boop, she has long hair now. Right. I thought that was quite cute. But also, I would have loved to have, an actual scene of her letting her hair down. Like, this scene also feels like it's a bit compressed for time. That, like, this feels like at some point or another it was meant to be longer. And maybe it got cut down a bit. God, she's still such a fucking Kingdom Hearts ass character design. But also, hello. Ma'am. Madame. I mean, you know, like, I'm just like, don't look at me like that. I have seen the fan art, you people. Don't look at me like that. You think I don't know? I know. I know, like, oh, the tags on AO3. Oh, I know. So don't you judge me. Like, just shut up. Because, like, I'm not, like, right? You know. Whew. But, hi, hello. I really like the choreography of this fight scene. That, like, because, like, what Vaggie is doing, like what Carmilla diagnoses, we actually see that happening. I commented on it myself, like, maybe stop just rushing at her, right? Like, stop just rushing at her like that, like, sort of headlessly. And Carmilla calls that out. It's like, yeah, no, you fight like an idiot who doesn't know that they have any vulnerabilities. And that's the truth. We saw Vaggie doing that. Like, the animators, like, took care to show that. And Carmilla is able to dance circles around her, right? By identifying those weaknesses. And then using the dance choreography as also, like, it's a song about, like, the thematic underpinnings of what justifies the violence that they're about to do. And it's a choreography that teaches Vaggie how to move in order to defend the things that she loves, at the same time as it's like a kung fu training sequence, right? Like, it's a training montage at the same time. And that's, like, necessity is the mother of invention. And that's, like, when you're working, when the show's biggest problem is that it's so fucking compressed, right? Combining all three of those things into one scene by using effective dance choreography, that's genuinely fucking clever. Like, that as a way to get around limitations, as a way to get around, like, we only have, you know, so much time in which to get this done. That's not without its problems, like I've said a million times. Like, it's still too compressed, but that's fucking brilliant. Like, of just smashing all three of those things into one and getting all of it out. That's the beauty. That's also the power. And, like, when we talk about musicals, like I've said it before, right? Like, when words are no longer enough, characters will sing, and when song is no longer enough, they will dance, right? And I think there is a sort of preconception that, like, song and choreography is not as information dense as prose is, like, that you can communicate more information through dialogue, having characters say things, like, simply like, say things quickly, rather than through, for example, lyricism, or through choreography of dance. And, like, no, like, I think you can get much more information across by using lyricism, poetry, by using, like, dance and, like, expressive movement, rather than trying to get everything across with words. And it's something I see, like when fucking Marvel movies, right? Like, Marvel movies have a tendency to like their fucking words, right? And like, Marvel like a lot of Disney's output in general, in more recent times, have had a tendency to like their words and their chatty talk, and like saying everything very explicitly, spelling things out with words, which seems to me in part a sort of reaction to the rise of, CinemaSins style criticism. And I'm not laying the blame for this entirely on CinemaSins. CinemaSins is a symptom, not a cause. But like the rise of a certain kind of, I would call it anti-intellectualism, a certain style of media criticism and media literacy that sort of insists that nothing exists beyond the literal layer. Right, like you'll get like the curtains were just blue people, right? Like where the meme of we were in class and the teacher is saying the blue curtains symbolize how the author is depressed, and then like the author, I meant that the curtains were fucking blue and this is stupid. Why would you try to interpret meaning into the thing? Like that shit, right? Like people who sort of get upset and angry at being asked to understand meaning in fiction beyond the literal level, right? Like of interpreting meaning on an emotional, on a spiritual, on a thematic level, like that annoys them. Like Gatsby gazes out over the waters and sees the green light beyond, and that symbolizes like his yearning for an imagined past that can, and like an imagined and recreated past that can never be, right? Instead of like, no, he's looking over there because that's where Daisy lives, right? But like, no, it's both. Like the green light symbolizes more than just merely, because Daisy to Gatsby is more than just like the person that is her name Daisy, whatever the fuck her name is, the shitty rich girl who can't take care of her baby. It is Tom and Daisy, right? Like it is Tom, I remember. But that all of that is more than just the literal thing. That's why Gatsby ends up dying for it, is because it is more than just the literal thing. If it was just he wanted a woman, he could have one, right? But it's because it's her. It's because he's trying to recapture that past. And like there is a certain style of anti-intellectualism that I think manifests in CinemaSins style criticism also, where it's like these very literal interpretations of things that are happening, and a very ungenerous approach to media literacy, where like you're not willing to extend the courtesy of trying to understand what else might be going on. If it's not explicitly spelled out in detail, then no, it doesn't exist. And that's not exclusively a thing for like conservatives and right-wingers either, I should say. Like you see this all the time in leftist discourse as well, especially among young queer communities, where there is a profound lack of willingness sometimes, in some circumstances, there's a profound lack of willingness to see things that aren't literally present in things, right? Like you get that in the thing of like where, you know what, I don't want to fucking stir any shit, so I'm not going to give examples, but it is a thing that exists like culture-wide, and it's something like everyone does it. I do it sometimes too. Like it's a thing that everyone can have a tendency towards doing. If you have a negative attitude towards something, you can kind of fall into doing things like that, where you sort of refuse to read generously. How the fuck did I end up on this tangent? I think I blacked out there for a second. What are we talking about? Where am I? What is this? Who are you people? Yeah, she's hot. I think that was the point I was trying to make. And also, yeah, just the compression. Always the compression is weighing on me. I really just wanted this to have more room to breathe. Hopefully season 2. Now that they know they have a season 2, maybe they will be told that they have a season 3 and that they can sort of plan for longer storylines. That would be lovely, because the fact that this show kind of had to get from Charlie establishes the hotel to try and reform people to warding off the angel genocide in 8 episodes is... yeah, that's an ask. That's an ask and a half. What the hell else did I want to talk about? I don't know how I got on that tangent. I really don't know. I fucking need to get back on my meds, because ADHD is all fun and games and quirky until you sit down and you talk about something. God, it's over an hour again, for 45 minutes, and you don't remember anything about how you got started or what point you were trying to make by the end. Like, I know it's funny, haha, but it's also a little frustrating to live with a brain like that. But anyway, Angel and physical contact. That right there, that is Angel not at all trying to flirt with anyone, not at all trying to get in anyone's personal space, not trying to hypersexualize his interactions with people in order to control the scale of intimacy that's going on, or like to continue validate Valentino's assertion that he's only good for carnal pleasure and for taking things from. It's just a guy hugging his friends. Like, he's bringing them in close and just like being there with them because he likes having them around. And that's again, very compressed timescale. This would probably take longer for someone who'd actually been through what Angel had been through to like fully realign their relationship with physical contact. But it is also just a detail that made me very happy. It's because, like, yes, that's where we want you, baby boy. That is that. We want you to be able to have that. Not in the sense that, like, sexual contact is bad, but, like, that he should be able to have all the kinds of contact. All of them. The platonic, the queer platonic, the romantic, the sexual, like, all of them. And it doesn't have to be everything sort of filtered through my body is only good for one thing kind of shit, right? That's just nice. He's hugging them. He's just hugging them. He just enjoys being around them. He just finds them to be good company that makes him happy to be with. And I like that. That's good. That made me happy. That made me smile. So does Nifty, by the way. Like, she's a fun character. Like, I'm sort of torn with Nifty where, like, on the one hand, I kind of want to know more about her. Like, I because she has the little red cheek spots like Charlie does, which sort of, okay, is there some sort of lineage there? Is she like of Lucifer's line somehow connected? Like, who knows? I kind of want to know more about her. I kind of want to know what her deal is, but on the other hand, you know what? No, I don't. I don't want to know what her deal is. I want her to be exactly what she is the whole time, forever, with like just Nifty, and no backstory, no tragedy, no trauma. She's just the way that she is, and she's happy that way. I would like that very much also. Yeah, I guess we're getting fight scenes the next one because, you know, after Lord of the Rings, everything has to conclude with a big epic fight scene. That's not necessarily a criticism. I want to see these people fucking get their shit on and kill some goddamn angels to death a lot. That would be lovely. Poor Vaggie. Also, yep. Good. Excellent. Oh, right. I wanted to, because remember how last episode I was all over the eyes thing, right? Like on the gates of heaven, I was all over the eyes thing, that there was eyes on the gates of heaven. Hey, that's familiar. Those look like eyes. That's eyes. Why are there eyes? And it comes back to this show's fucking obsession with eyes that I still haven't been able to fucking decode, and it bothers me. I think it's using eyes in more than one way at the very least. But it's also, because like eyes, sight, seeing, insight, knowledge, observation, surveillance, understanding, like eyes have all of these many disparate, many interesting meanings into what they could mean, what they could be, right? And they can be very sinister. Like the evil eye is like an ancient idea. In many spiritual practices, this idea of like you can have a baleful gaze upon you, like something evil can have you in its sight, and that like simply the act of being observed, of being looked at in a malicious way can kind of twist you, change you, kill you, and like make you curse you, right? Which is like, oh, okay, so like hell, like hell is the way it is in part because it's observed to be sinful by heaven, maybe, except the show doesn't really develop that idea. I was hoping that with the eyes on the gates of heaven that it would be like, oh, this is a surveillance state. That would be the idea, but no, that it didn't have time to. We didn't have time to develop heaven at all, except as the briefest possible set piece. Which, by the way, St. Peter is canon in Hazbin Hotel, but if St. Peter is canon, then there must be a Jesus, right? And if there is a Jesus, then there was an absolution for original sin, and also a very specific, because Christ was pretty clear that there is no way into the kingdom of heaven except through me, which, classic cult leader shit to say, but that's a thing which Christians hold to quite strongly. But if St. Peter is there and he has the keys to the doors of heaven, then those keys were granted to him by Christ. At least that's what the Catholics say. I think the Protestants also say that, but not quite in the same explicit way that Peter then granted the authority of forgiveness to the popes. Because then that implies that the only way into heaven is through Christ. Which, why does no one in heaven know that? If Jesus is around, bring him out, ask him. He, generally speaking, fairly forgiving fella. He liked sex workers quite a lot. I'm sure he would forgive angel dust in an instant. He wouldn't have any trouble doing that. He likes sex workers and he likes prostitutes. He likes hanging out with lots of other sweaty dudes in close quarters. He seemed cool. But I can't get that out of my mind that St. Peter's there. That means there is a Jesus. And if there is a Jesus, that has some pretty severe implications on the notions of what is sin and what is redemption, because Jesus kind of made himself the gatekeeper of that pretty hard. But of course, that's me thinking too hard about it. I think St. Peter is there because he's a pop cultural part of... Because that's the thing. Should I save all of this to after the last episode, actually? Because that will, because maybe that's the episode that kind of confirms some things so I can actually think about. I'm really all over the fucking place tonight, aren't I? Yeah. Okay. Housekeeping, I should say. There's a little bit of housekeeping. The last episode, the finale, I'm going to record that live, the reaction to it, with my Discord community. I think I've figured out a way to stream the episode to Discord, but still do the 3, 2, 1 countdown thing of recording stuff for you guys. I think I can make that work. So that's going to be happening on the Discord server that I have, and there's going to be an invite link to that in a pinned comment below the video, probably. I might forget, and if I've forgotten, please leave a comment telling me, hey, you forgot to put the thing, and then I'll remember to do it. And you might have to check back a couple of times after this thing gets posted before I remember to put the damn comment down there. But there's going to be an invite link down there that's going to work for 24 hours after this video goes live. You can come and join the Discord if you want to join, the live recording of the thing. And, I'll have scrolling comments on screen out here behind my head, so you can see what people are saying and that as the episode is going. And I want to experiment with trying to do that as a live recording community thing for my Discord, for some things, not for everything. For example, the finale of Hazbin Hotel. So that's that. I should have set that at the top of the episode. So that's there if you want to participate in that. That's going to be happening over the weekend. Yes, the Saturday after this episode goes up. If I'm calculating things in my head correctly. It should be the Saturday after this episode uploads is when we will be doing that, on the assumption that I don't get into a car crash or something. Yes. I have so many thoughts about this show. I have so many complaints. I really do. I know I'm praising it a lot, and I'm giving it a lot of grace, and I'm working very hard not to be too judgmental of it, because the compression is not something that the showrunner gets to decide what to do, to decide. That's not really... No one at Hazbin Hotel's production staff decided to have the show be this compressed, but the ways that they're responding to that compression are, some parts of it I find have mixed success. Some parts of it is I kind of wish you would have gambled on getting a second season, but if I was in that position, would I have had the stones to gamble with that? I don't know. I have a lot of criticisms as well, and I think the finale is going to determine, like, how I feel about the finale, like how well it manages to scoop everything, like tie everything up and make a satisfying conclusion. Not necessarily an all-encompassing tying up all of the loose ends, but a satisfying one. Just one that's like emotionally and narratively satisfying for what we have. If it can stick that landing, then I'm going to have quite a high opinion of this show. If it can't, then I'm going to be like, oh, so close. Like, I'm gonna file this in the category of things that tried really hard and got so far, but in the end didn't matter as much as maybe it should have. So we'll see about that. There's a lot riding on it. Yeah, I think I'll save the rest of what I have for the finale. Yeah. Bye.